Good evening. Welcome to the May 7, 2024 City Council meeting. The meeting is hereby called to order. Members of the public may attend this City Council meeting in person or may watch and listen remotely by viewing the meeting on Channel 8 WCTV and at the city's website at www.wayzata.org/WCTV. Public comment during the public forum and/or public hearing portions of the meeting may be provided in person at the meeting in advance or by logging into the Zoom call and raising your hand during the public hearing. When your name is called in the meeting, you will be seen and heard in our council chambers and the cable channel. You will be asked to unmute, and then you may begin your comments. All public comments must include your full name and address. Second item on the agenda this evening is the Pledge of Allegiance. I would ask everyone to please stand if able and follow along. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Third item on the agenda this evening is the roll call. Let the record reflect that all members of the council are present, with the exception of Councilmember Plekish with an excused absence. Next item is to approve the agenda. May I have a motion to approve the agenda as is, or would anyone care to make any changes?
I'll approve it as is, Mayor.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion passes. And we will move on to the public forum. As a reminder for those members of the public in attendance this evening who are interested in speaking, we ask that you please state your name, address, indicate if you are representing a group. We also ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes. If the item you wish to speak about is something that is on the agenda this evening, for those that are in person, we ask that you please fill out a form at a table at the back of the room and hand it to staff. For those that are watching via Zoom, please send a note via chat and let staff know which item you wish to speak about. We also will require that your camera is turned on when you speak. All right, we have one item thus far in our public forum, and that is a presentation of the Wayzata Library by Scott Dimstra. Thank you. I knew I was going to get that wrong. Hennepin County Library Director, City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We asked Mr. Dimstra to come to the meeting, just give an update on just the overall library system for Hennepin County and more specifically our Wayzata branch. We used to do this every year or so prior to the pandemic, but we kind of got away from it. So we're really happy to have them here and have Scott here and just give us an update on all the fun stuff going on at the library and a little bit of background information as well.
Wonderful. Good evening.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and council members, and I want to express my gratitude to the city manager as well too for thinking of us and offering the invite as well. And my name is Scott Dimstra. I am the library director for Hennepin County Library, and I'm actually joined by Aaron Ludholm, who is the patron experience supervisor at the Wayzata Library as well too. So Aaron is going to help me if you have any Wayzata specific questions, but I'm going to give you just some data on how our library system is being used and specifically how the Wayzata Library is being used as well too. Because one of the questions that we get is how relevant our libraries, how used our libraries, especially during the kind of the post-pandemic era as well too. And I'm here to share good news. Libraries, especially within Hennepin County, for 2023, we had 3.7 million visitors within that year. That is an increase of over 1 million visitors from where we saw the numbers in 2022. Now, we are not back to the pre-pandemic numbers yet. We were averaging over 5 million visits per year during that time leading up to 2020. Significant decrease in 2020 and 2021, but it's amazing to get back to the numbers of 3.7 million visitors in a year in our libraries as well too. We also reached a milestone of having over 500,000 residents within Hennepin County having a library card. So if you don't have a library card, help us achieve that goal of having every resident within Hennepin County have a library card. You can use it at any one of our 41 locations as well too. You don't even have to come into one of our libraries. You can actually use it with our digital collection as well too. But 500,000 library cards is amazing, because that was a trend even pre-pandemic that we were seeing on the decline, and we've actually seen a resurgence of library cards and interest in public libraries post-pandemic as well too. And I'm going to talk a little bit about why that is the case for actually the physical spaces of our libraries as well too. And when you talk about usage of our library and circulation and checking out materials, this is both physical materials within our library spaces and our digital collection. Within 2023, over 12 million items were checked out in our libraries as well too. We have not seen that number since pre-2016. So this is actually an increase in circulation that we did not even see at our pre-pandemic level as well too. So it just shows you the engagement that our communities have within our libraries, and also the strong support that our libraries have as well too. I joined the organization in October of 2023. I would love to say that that's a new bump from having a new library director, but I know, looking back at the data, that there's a strong support for our libraries as well too. And that is the case for the Wayzata Library as well. So for 2023, they have just over 5,000 cardholders for that library as well too. That's an 8% increase from what they saw the years prior as well. For circulation, they have over 86,000 checkouts at that library. And already this year, they are almost at 30,000 checkouts of people coming in, checking out materials within that space as well too. Phenomenal usage. And again, usage that we have not seen even in pre-pandemic numbers as well too. For visits, they had over 31,000 visitors in 2023. And already in 2024, they're already at about 7,000 visits year to date at the library as well too. One of the most needed items post-pandemic within our library spaces is meeting rooms. And so people like to come into our library spaces, but they also like to use them in different ways. And that is within our meeting rooms, whether it's a larger meeting room or whether it's a meeting room that holds 2 to 3 individuals, so that they can either attend a class remotely, attend work remotely as well too. And that's what Aaron has said about the Wayzata Library as well, is people use it as a place not only to bring their families and their children to, but as a place to connect as well. So it's the comfortable seating, it's the meeting rooms that you have in the space that actually add to the visits to our space. And that's a change in our libraries. As we do renovations for our libraries and as we add new spaces within our libraries, the number one request from communities is an inviting space, but also a space that has meeting rooms that they can use privately to attend work and to attend educational opportunities as well too. They've had 120 programs in 2023 at the Wayzata Library with 1,600 attendees. And those programs have ranged from writing programs. They just did a 4-part series on writing nonfiction at the library. They also have educational programs, like music programs, but they also have those day-to-day programs as well, like craft programs, like family storytime programs as well too, that are part of those 1,600 visitors within the space just to attend library programs as well too. They also, for public computers, you might think of us within a connected society that public computers are not as needed within public libraries. We've actually seen the reverse of that as well. 1,508 sessions year to date at the Wayzata Library for using public computers. But one of the most numbers that I'm a bit awestruck with is 41,000 sessions on public Wi-Fi within the Wayzata Library space. So that's people coming in and connecting, bringing their own technology within the space. So it just shows you that not only do we have to design a library space that has the literacy needs, that has the material needs, we also have to have a space that is that third space to residents in your community, that they can come in with their device and they can come in and plug and connect, whether it is through education or work or entertainment as well too. So I wanted to thank you, to give you a very brief overview of where we are as a library system, but also talk about where we are with the Wayzata Library as well too. Happy to answer any questions. Also happy to make this a yearly visit as well too, and get back on the calendar for kind of these post-pandemic presentations of where we are as a library system, because I see 2024 as a very strong year for our library system as well too. And I'll be overjoyed a year from now to present even higher numbers for where we are as a library system. Being new to this area, I came from Michigan. I'm truly impressed by the support that the communities have for their libraries and the love that they have for reading and literacy within the communities as well too. So happy to entertain any questions about Hennepin County Library or about the Wayzata Library as well.
Well, thank you very much. First, welcome to Minnesota and certainly to Wayzata, more specifically. It's a pleasure to have you. And I think it's safe to say you'll have probably 4 more to add to your 500,000 library cards before the end of the week.
I love it.
Yeah. So before I get to my questions, Council, any questions? No? Well, I have just a few. Do you have any breakdowns on the demographics of the individuals who come and use the library specifically in Wayzata?
That's a very good question. We can actually get that information broken down by age, but we don't ask anyone. Someone say registers for a library card. We don't break the application down by demographic information. One of the things that we could give you based on a request is where people are coming from to visit the library as well too. That is data that we have. And one of the things that we've learned is there's strong community support for a library within a community, but there's also a willingness for residents to travel between multiple libraries as well too. And one of the things that I encourage is visiting as many 41 libraries as you can. Treat it as a national park. Treat it as a point of pride to see how many libraries that you can visit within Hennepin County. So while we don't have demographic information, we actually have information where people are traveling from to come to our spaces as well.
Wonderful. Might have to implement a passport stamping.
I don't want to reveal too much in a public meeting, but it's coming. So.
Okay, good. See, we're on the same page.
Exactly.
We're aligned. What do you see as being the biggest threats to public libraries as technology evolves and times change?
It's a very good question. I think relevancy is one part of it, but it's also the other part is sustaining our mission. If you look nationwide, there's threats to public libraries, and public libraries are not a political institution. We have a collection that is wide-ranging and reflective of all the communities that we serve. But it is a threat to have a management over the materials that libraries have in our collection. I'm not saying that this has occurred within Hennepin County, but if you look nationwide, it's a threat for public libraries. And kind of standing on the grounding of the foundation of public libraries, we're founded on First Amendment access, freedom of access in the library, and that when you come into our space, you find something that resonates with you. But also there's a chance that you might find something that is objectionable to you as well too. For that, we have a collection that is well-rounded and one that represents all viewpoints within our community. But it's a mission that we feel strongly that we have to protect within a public library as well.
Well, thank you. Any specific challenges with the Wayzata Library that as you
Maybe
operate within the
sunshine,
city?
because when you walk in, that view is so beautiful. Like
It's hard to focus.
It was. I was so impressed when I visited and I met with Aaron. And you walk in and you just see the beauty of that space as well too. But more specifically for those questions, I turn it over to Aaron to see if we have any issues that we're running up against with Wayzata specifically.
Yeah. If you could come to the microphone so everybody can hear you. We do have a vast viewing audience, and we want to make sure we capture every word. Good evening.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Challenges, no, I would say that we enjoy a beautiful space and great support from the community here as well. The Friends of Wayzata Library just conducted their book sale in this space, as you may know, recently, and so we have a lot of support from the Friends of the Wayzata Library. The Wayzata Garden Club is out there gardening in our beautiful grounds around the library, and I know that Wayzata Public Works contributes to the beauty there too. So our director talked about some of the big issues or potential threats to library services, but I feel that in my experience so far here in Wayzata, just seeing lots of great support from the community and engagement from library patrons.
That's fantastic. I'll just throw this out here as you do your strategic planning. We lost all our coffee shops in town. You might, be a great spot for a little coffee in the
That is
corner.
something I've noticed that's missing, yeah.
Might be a perfect spot for it.
Well, those are the type of questions that we need, or type of feedback that we need to hear, because it's kind of re-envisioning our space and what is the need of our space. And it's something that we're encountering post-pandemic as well, too, is how do people utilize library space? And community-wise, what would they like to see in their library as well, too? So Maybe we name it the Mayor's Coffee Shop.
Oh, wow, that would be quite the honor. I do love a good cup of coffee. There are a couple of things. I was very privileged to be able to enjoy story time with my children when they were young enough to want to go spend time with me outside the home. And story time was always such a wonderful place to do that at the library, and staying within the community, and it was always so well received by everyone. So I'm really appreciative that you do that for young parents and the children. It's a memory I hold on to and I cherish.
Thank you. And that's one that we usually hear, because if you think about starting a literacy journey, it usually starts right over there.
Right.
And where you start that literacy journey with your children, you'll always have those memories. And for us, how do we build upon that? And how do we sustain that usage as well too? But you're right. We see the library as kind of that integral part in our communities that starts that building block of literacy and learning.
And for people who don't know, the children's garden on the corner there, that is such a special place too. So pleased to have that. And the other thing that many people probably don't realize, what I appreciate is that it is a safe place for our young people to go when they get dropped off after school. They get off the bus, and before someone can come and pick them up, I see them with their backpacks, and they're headed to the library where they're going to, either connect with their friends or do their homework or study or relax before it's time to on the next part of their journey, be it to home or sporting events. So it is really nice to know that there is that place that is there for them, and that they're well cared for in that time. So
And when we see that, we develop services around that. So how can we engage with students after school, whether it's providing programs or whether it's just providing that safe space?
yeah, well, I appreciate that. Well, thank you both for what you do, your commitment not only to the library system, but specifically to Wayzata, and the gifts that you bring to the people that choose to go and visit the library. And it's definitely an active place when we come and go. That parking lot is bustling. So thank you for the amazing service you provide, and welcoming and greeting everyone that comes through. So appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you again for the opportunity.
So we will definitely make that an annual event. Fantastic. All right, do we have any other individuals who would like to speak in the public forum?
Madam Mayor, we do not.
Okay, very good. Then we will move on to our next agenda item, and that item is the consent agenda. And this evening on the consent agenda, we have the following items. We have approval of Local Board of Appeal and Equalization meeting minutes of April 18, 2024, and City Council workshop and regular meeting minutes of April 23, 2024. We have approval of the check register, approval of municipal licenses, approval of professional services agreement with Center for Energy and Environment for discounted home energy squad visits. Adoption of Resolution 14-2025, approving membership in the Hennepin County Fire Chiefs Association, Inc. Adoption of Resolution 16-2024, approving interfund transfer from General Fund to Parks and Trails Capital Improvement Fund. And lastly, approval of user agreement with Hennepin County for access to aerial imagery. Members of the council, are there any questions on those items, or would anyone care to pull items for further discussion?
I have a
Councilmember
comment
Barca?
on
Yes,
number
please.
D. Could I say something?
Absolutely, please.
So I was fortunate enough to have the Energy and Environmental Discounted Home Energy Squad visit my house, and this was truly a squad. And they came in and they looked at my hot water heater, they changed every light bulb in the house, they discussed windows, they changed shower heads, and this was there were like 8 people there running around for 2 or 3 hours, I forget how long, but it was, and I think I got charged $35 or $50, and it was just really informational, everybody was very professional, and I got a lot out of it. So I would encourage people to do that and for us to adopt this resolution.
Wonderful. Thank you, Councilmember Parkhill. Any other questions or items to pull? No? Well, I have to echo your sentiment. It's been a great initiative by the Energy and Environment Committee, and I encourage folks to who live in Wayzata to sign up and take advantage of it. All right, seeing that there are no additional questions, would someone care to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second?
Motion has been first and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion passes. And that takes us on to new business. And our first item under new business this evening is to consider adoption of Resolution 17-2024, approving a front, rear, and lakeshore setback variances at 620 Bushaway Road. I have to rely on the screen.
I would keep you honest there.
Oh, my goodness. Yes, you certainly have. All right, wonderful. City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Our esteemed Assistant Planner Val Quarles is going to walk us through this item.
Esteemed Assistant Planner Quarles, good evening.
Thank you, City Manager Dahl, esteemed as well. Tonight, we're going to be considering a series of setback variances at 620 Bushaway Road. The owners are Gary and Karen Kurt, and their representative is Wade Schmidt at Rauscher and Associates. The project is located on Bushaway Road. It's one of the last properties before the bridge over to Minnetonka. And just to zoom in a little bit, this is the lot as it sits today. You can see this slide is actually a little bit in error. The arrow that's pointing to the home is actually the garage. There's a smaller building sort of south of the garage that is the home. I'll zoom in on it a little better in a future slide. But you can see it occupies this narrow strip between Bushaway Road and Grays Bay. The surrounding neighborhood is all R1A and a state single-family district. And when we look at existing conditions, the lot is about half of the minimum size that R1A is today. We normally ask for 80,000 square feet for new lots. This one is about 41,000. The home was built in 1925 and is about 1,600 square feet. It doesn't conform to any setbacks at all. This is in part because the width of the lot is actually only about 75 feet at its narrowest point, and as you can see, the house sits within that narrow portion. The setbacks required in R1A are 50 feet, 100 feet, 75 feet, depending on where you're looking, so there's really no way to meet any of them except for, you can see a little red triangle up at the top of the property. That is the one buildable compliant area on the entire lot. So just to give you an idea of what we're working with.
That would make for a funny looking house.
It would. You can also see that there's a garage north of the house that was built definitely later than 1925, but I haven't been able to pinpoint exactly what year. And then if you look really closely, which you'll be able to do in a future slide a little better, you can see that some of those colored blocks sort of come over that black line next to Bushaway Road. Those are encroachment items into the right-of-way. It's a fireplace and then a little bit of a patio area. Those came about when Hennepin County made roadway acquisitions to widen Bushaway Road. And then when Bushaway Road was not widened, all that right-of-way is left over. So there's a fence that's a little bit in the right-of-way, and then there's those items that are in the right-of-way. And I'll talk a little bit more about how those might be addressed in the future later. I won't talk about all of these numbers, but in short, everything is very, very close to every single property line when compared to the required setbacks. 45 feet is required in R1A. It's about 2.5 feet. There's 2 setbacks to work with from the lakeshore. You're both looking at the R1A rear yard setback, which is 50 feet. And then in the Shoreland Overlay District, we actually push houses back a little bit further, 75 feet. And then the garage is also not quite in compliance with R1A as an accessory structure as well.
When was the house built?
The house was built in 1925.
Okay, thank you.
For some context, since the house was on the market in the last couple of years, we have beautiful real estate photos from Grays Bay to work with. This is what the home looks like from the lake today. And then to give you a little bit of a sense of what you see from Bushaway Road, that's that second image, you can see that they have an 8-foot tall fence. That's one that they got a conditional use permit for, I think in the early 2000s. So the development application is to build an addition to the existing home and a new boathouse. That would involve removing the detached garage, and they're also seeking to shift the driveway location. I note all of the activities, but the driveway shifting and the boathouse are not activities that require commission and council approval. They're just part of this project. So there are quite a few variances then associated with making those changes. The existing home is that block that's at the very southern end of that green area. You can see that they'd plan to make that addition attached, generally keep it in line with that Bushaway Road property line. They'd also add a garage on the north side of that addition and a new driveway pad. They'd reconfigure that driveway. You can see that it's that red tire track style driveway to come out to Bushaway Road a little bit more south than it does now. Right now, what it does is actually goes over that bridge that you can see in purple. That bridge is basically over a little man-made creek water feature. And so instead, that would be a lot closer to the house. The renderings that you can see are, the first one on the top is if you're standing on the southern end and looking at the existing home, you can see how the addition sort of comes backwards from that. And then the one on the bottom is if you were standing on Bushaway Road. I mentioned, of course, that there's a fence there today, so this is not exactly what you would see, but just to give you an idea of a sense of scale. A couple of more renderings. The bottom one you can see is that same lake image that we looked at earlier, just with that new portion of the house sketched in, an aerial up top. And then I just wanted to note that there is a boathouse proposed as part of this. In the shoreland district, you are allowed to have a boathouse that's a lot closer to the water under certain conditions. It has to do with the size of the boathouse, the height, and the distance from the lake. This does meet all of those. So again, that's not an individual item that you have to approve, but it is proposed to be part of the project. And then finally, just for a little bit more of a sense of scale, on this top image, you can see that between the new part and the old part of the house, there's not a proposal to change the height at all. They wanted to match. They are already well under the R1A max of 40 feet, but they're planning to stay within that, stick with that 2 stories. A couple smaller images you can see to the left there of the boathouse. And then that final one is if you're standing at the north end of the property and looking south, that's that garage end of the property. So what those numbers shake out to is working with about 9 feet away from the Bushaway property line and then about 25 feet away from the lake shore. Again, those are definitely different than the city code requirements of 45 and 50 feet, but a little bit of an improvement over the current conditions. They're not looking to stay 2.5 feet away from the property line, but they are looking to get a little closer on that rear yard setback. That's in part because the house tilts, the property narrows. Same with shoreline. I included that little cutout aerial image there because one of the ways that we calculate shoreline setbacks is it's either 75 feet or a line drawn between the 2 houses on either side. That line in this case ends up in the water, so we go with the 75 feet as the required setback. And then as I mentioned, of course, the property is narrower than 75 feet here, so that makes it virtually impossible to meet that setback requirement. A couple notes on tree impacts. There are some trees proposed to be removed, both because of the garage and addition and also a couple for the boathouse and the driveway. But they are planning to replace all of the required inches that they need to replace, so that meets all of the ratios for heritage trees and significant trees, and follows the replacement plan that's been approved by the city forester. In terms of department comments, the engineering department is mostly concerned with the Hennepin County right-of-way. Hennepin County will require a permit to move that curb cut for the driveway south instead of where it is now. At that time, in our conversations with Hennepin County, they're also going to entitle those right-of-way encroachments that I mentioned earlier. Those were never formally taken care of after the Bushaway Road discussion, so this would be the time to address those, and the county has signaled that they're fine with doing that. And then for the city forester, he's reviewed the tree plan and finds it satisfactory. The Planning Commission discussed it at their March 11th meeting. They did vote 4-1 to recommend approval based on the narrow and substandard existing lot when compared to those R1A standards. And they were very much in favor of the fact that the homeowners are looking to preserve the existing historic home and add on to it rather than tear down and build something new. With that, the proposed motion would be to adopt Resolution 17-2024, approving the setback variances at 620 Bushaway Road. Thank you.
Thank you. Council, questions of staff? No? Hardcover? Is that, any issues with hardcover?
No, it's compliant today, and it would continue to be compliant under the new proposal.
Okay, fantastic, thank you.
I did have one question. I gotta find it. How did we get from 29 to 25.4? Is that closer, the setback's less? So did a piece get closer to the lake or the lake?
Yes, I'm just trying to find the right slide to show it here real quick. I think this is a good one. You can see in the very bottom of that corner of the house pops out there, but if you were to zoom out a bit, you could see that the property line sort of makes a bow shape there. So it comes out a little bit and gives you a little bit more clearance, but as you move north, that's where like the choke point of the property is, and it gets the narrowest. So even though
It comes in.
Yep, the bay comes in a little bit more. So even though that addition kind of maintains a constant width and is in line with that, because the property line itself moves, that setback gets a little smaller.
And then the other one was you went from 2.4 to 9. Is that because they removed something?
It's mostly that the 2.4 is existing and that'll continue to be there, but it doesn't need a new entitlement because it exists. That 9.4 is just for the new part, so the original house is not moving.
Great
I
question.
know they were talking about tearing some piece of the old house down, so.
And the existing garage is being removed. There's an addition that's going on the existing house, and then a new garage on the top part, on the north side.
Yep, so consolidating those structures today into
Okay.
one big home.
Excellent, thank you.
Excuse me, one more question.
Yes, please.
Is the old garage in the same spot as the new garage, or is it slightly different? I didn't see an overlay slide.
Let me get a good comparison. I believe it moves south quite a bit. So you can see that new garage comes, or that old garage comes sort of all the way up to that line there. I think that the final line of the new garage will be kind of at the southern end of what that existing garage is today.
Okay.
So that driveway pad that they'll have in front of their new garage is where that existing garage is now.
Okay, thank you.
Last question from me. I was under the impression that new boathouses were not permitted. Did I imagine that rule? That you had to have like the existing, you had to have the pad remaining, or you could alter an existing boathouse, but new ones were not being permitted. Am I wrong in that assertion?
I haven't seen that in my experience. What I have seen is that when people want, a lot of the original boathouses to the historic properties tend to be pretty big. So if you wanted to make modifications to those, you're pretty severely limited in what you can do.
Okay.
This property doesn't have a boathouse today, so they're able to build one that's compliant with code.
And that falls completely under the city's jurisdiction and not LMCD?
It's within the city's jurisdiction under the Shoreland Overlay District. We do notify the DNR of any property application that's within Shoreland Overlay, but we can notify LMCD as well in the case of permitting.
Understood. Thank you. Right. Councilmember Iverson, do you have a question?
No, I was just going to say thank you for asking that, because I have recalled that they weren't allowed to. And so I wasn't sure when and if that changed, or did we just have the wrong information?
Yeah. I don't know. Okay. But we have it in our code that we have the authority to review and approve a boathouse.
Yes, under the Shoreland District.
Okay.
Perfect.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
for asking the question.
Very good. Well, I'd like to invite the applicant to come up if you have anything you'd like to share. Good evening. If you could please introduce yourself with your name and address.
Yes, Wade Schmidt, 291 Bernard Street East, West St. Paul. I work for Rauscher and Associates, the company that is designing this house for Gary and Karen Kurt, the homeowners. And thank you for having us and entertaining our proposal. And do you have any questions for me right off the bat?
And not for me at the time. Thank you.
Okay.
At the moment, no.
Well, when Gary first found the property, they loved it right away and never entertained tearing it down. And Gary's done so much research with the architect who built it and the neighborhood and everything. And so what we wanted to do was come up with a design that was more accommodating to what they needed in a house today. You know, exercise space, office space, guest bedroom. And the existing cottage is so charming and cute, but it's literally when you walk in, the patio door hits the island in the kitchen. Like there's no room for anything in it. So that was our mission, was to try and be as respectful as we could with that existing cottage and not overwhelm the space and not try to ask for too much. We're well under hardcover and well under height. Our proposal to move the driveway is actually going to help with the hardcover and also with construction to not destroy that bridge that we want to keep as well. So that's going to become more of like a wooded kind of trail area over where at the north end of the property. And along with that, the site, we're going to add in landscaping that complements the existing landscaping, which is really beautiful, and kind of just make it into a house we wish was already there when they purchased it instead of the little cottage, while still keeping that cottage the same. So our real goal was just to try and be respectful to what we're asking for and what's there.
Wonderful, thank you. All
Any
right,
questions while I'm up here?
I don't think, Councilmember Iverson, I believe, has a question
Just a general, the square footage of the total home.
as proposed.
Exactly.
Okay.
Well, the square footage, I don't know right off the top of my head, but the footprint of the existing home is about 1,900 square feet with the house and the garage together. And the footprint of the whole new existing with that is like 3,400. So we'd be going up about 1,500 square feet, give or take.
Okay, so it's a nice size footprint. It's not-
Yeah.
So it seems to me, it's hard, it's nice, the renderings are really beautiful, but hearing the square footage helps to see the size of the home on the lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's like, that comes under the building hardcover, which we're also under, which is separate from the total hardcover. So we stayed under the building hardcover as well as total hardscape with the pavers and everything else, so,
Okay, thank you.
yeah.
Did you say 3,400 including the garage?
Yeah, that's just the footprint, it's not the total square footage.
Okay.
So the upper level's not counted in that, and then there's the
Right, okay.
office above the garage as well. So I don't know that number quite off my head.
No, that's okay, but it gives perspective. Thank
Yeah.
you. I don't believe we have any further questions.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I will bring it back to council for their thoughts on the proposal. Anybody like to begin? Councilmember McDonald.
I would love to begin. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for a nice presentation, and great thanks to the Planning Commission and their thorough conversation. I fall in line with the way they voted for these variances, with saving an old, beautiful house is a priority for the community and really maintains that existing character. And this is a very odd-shaped lot, so it feels like a good reason to ask for a variance. And I think there's just this minimal impact. It's not in a big neighborhood, so I'm delighted to see this beautiful, charming house be saved and enhanced and enjoyed.
Wonderful. Thank you. Who would like to go next?
We'll just go down the line. How's that?
Perfect.
So for me, when I get a packet and I look at variances, I'm always hesitant. I'm hesitant because you really need to show hardship. And I will say in this situation, I do think there's a hardship that does exist. Again, I'm always skeptical to do that, but I do, again, I think in this situation. And to what Molly said, thank you for saving the old home. Charm like that is very hard to recreate. It looks like you're doing a really wonderful job with the window selections and the roof lines and all the things that you have well thought out. And it really also looks like you're minimizing the tree loss. So thank you for that again, and I'm sure the landscaping is going to be quite beautiful. So I too will support this. So you've done a really beautiful job on this.
Thank you, Councilmember Iverson. Councilmember Parkhill.
Well, I don't want to repeat what everybody said, but I do agree. And I, want to thank the Planning Commission. They really spent a lot of time talking about this. So thank you for preserving the home, adorable little house, cottage, and I don't think you lost it when you made it bigger. I think you still got it. So that's really, really nice. Clearly see the practical difficulties. I noted in the notes from the Planning Commission that there was some concern about construction and all the equipment and all that up and down Bushaway Road. And I guess I can just say that Mr. Kramer's been building on my street for the last year and a half, and I really haven't noticed him. So I think they'll be able to manage through that.
Yeah.
So I am for the project.
Fantastic, thank you. Yeah, so I have an interesting history with this house. When I came to visit Wayzata for the very first time from my home in Washington, D.C., at the ripe old age of, I don't know, maybe 20, I remember being taken around town, and of all the beautiful, beautiful homes, that was the home that spoke to my heart. It wasn't the biggest, but it was something about the roof line. I called it the gnome house. That to me just encapsulated everything that I found with my European background and growing up on the East Coast. Just warmth and charm, and I never made it past the fence, but I saw the little bridge. I was like, oh, wow, I could live in this house. And I am so pleased. I mean, I have a short history in Wayzata compared to many people who have been here for generations, and so to see a proposal. With the challenging lot to deal with, natural elements that are difficult, the road, just the shape of the lot in general, to be committed to keeping a home that has a history and a charm and an aesthetic that really captures what I like to say is the heart and soul of this beautiful town, is really a pleasure to see. The lot is similar to, I'm going to back up for a moment, similar to Councilmember Iverson. I don't tend to vote for variances. Like, you knew what you got and you got to deal with it, and that's the way it is. Non-conforming lots, though, do present different challenges, and this is definitely one of them. But as to repeat what Councilmember Iverson was saying, the not only saving the home, and my colleagues have stated the same thing, but the tree preservation and the sensitivity to the landscape is definitely noted, and you're doing the best you can with what you have to work with. I think the home is going to go from amazing to phenomenally amazing. It's and Mr. Kramer has an amazing reputation around not only Wayzata, but the metro area for doing fantastic work and being sensitive to the neighbors. I would ask to Councilmember Parkhill's point, when he pointed out the Planning Commission's concerns, we would just ask the planning staff and Public Works to work alongside, if there are any specific concerns that need to be addressed. Capitalize on your conversations with the county post haste. Those are always good ones to get us behind in the rearview mirror. But if there's anything we can do to kind of minimize during this busy time of year, trucks coming and going, backing in, safety obviously is a paramount concern, not only for the people using Bushaway Road, but also for your crews that will be coming and going as well. So we'll just have a construction traffic plan, I suppose. Yeah, so very good. So with all that, the only thing we need to wrap things up on this item on our agenda is a motion to adopt Resolution 17-2024, approving a front, rear, and lake shore setback variances at 620 Bushaway Road.
I'll make that motion, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Is there a second? Second. It's been first and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion passes. Congratulations and best of luck to you. And thank you. Thank you for your commitment to us and to that beautiful home. You may, please. If you could introduce yourself, please.
Gary Kurt, 325 Highcroft Lane. And in a world where there's not a lot of gratitude, Gary and I want to just thank you for your attention to the detail and the emotion that we put into this. We've gotten to know neighbors, the Floms next door, and we're so excited. Highcroft is a great neighborhood, but Bushaway is something special, so we're really excited. And the architectural piece and the detail is paramount to us, and certainly Mother Earth and trees and all that stuff, we're on it. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you. In a world where we don't get a lot of gratitude, thank you. Thank you. You just made our evening. Well, we are very excited for you on your new adventures. So and let the fun begin.
The work.
Yeah. So you don't have to stick around. You won't be impolite if you leave. I promise. Things are going well. Go celebrate.
Yep.
Absolutely. Have a wonderful evening. All right. Well, we love to have moments like this. All right, we are still in new business, and our second item, equally exciting, is to consider adoption of Resolution 15-2024, authorizing the issuance and sale of general obligation tax increment refunding bonds, Series 2024A. I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but it's
That's
quite a
funny.
departure from building a dream home, issuing bonds. All right, City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Appreciate it.
No less important. I don't want to,
Right, but
Finish.
different.
but different.
And maybe a little bit more removed from actual residents, improving their property.
Correct.
So, but
Absolutely.
important nonetheless. I'm just going to go through a quick presentation. We have our esteemed longtime financial advisor, Stacy Kavilvang from Ellers, to answer any questions that you may have. But I'll go through this and hopefully be able to answer questions as well. So if you remember last year, actually around this time, let's do that. The city council approved temporary bonds to move forward with the financing of the Lake Walk and the docks. Just real briefly, the Lake Walk is funded by three major funding sources. One, $4 million in state bonds. Two, the Wayzata Conservancy. And three, TIF dollars. I don't know why I did that. The TIF component was supposed to be kind of an equal component, but because we hadn't had any confirmation as to if we're going to get additional bonding dollars from the state, we ultimately decided back this time last year to issue temporary bonds for basically the most amount that our TIF district could support, just knowing that we weren't guaranteed any additional state bonds this time last year. Unfortunately, as the legislative process went through, we did not get any additional TIF bond. So fast forward to today, we're almost about to open the lake walk, pretty close on budget. And as a result of that, we need to use the majority, or if not all, of those allocated and committed temporary bonds. So tonight, we're asking the council to go from temporary to layman's term, permanent bonds. They can only be held for 3 years, temporary bonds, and for a variety of reasons, we think it's a financial advantage to move forward tonight. We can save on interest costs ultimately, and there's no guarantee that that rates are going to go up or down, and so we've gotten feedback that we should move forward right now. Overall, the proposed term would be 20 years. It would be entirely paid out of TIF 6. And we have been doing a little updating of TIF 6. Between last year and this year, interest costs overall in TIF 6 have gone down a little bit. So this will ultimately save, as what we projected last year, over $400,000 in estimated interest costs. In addition, our increment was pretty conservative last year. So based on property values, and this doesn't even include any additional new construction, we're about over $5 million over projected increment. What this means is essentially our TIF 6 is very healthy, and any risk we felt last year of just, is there enough increment to ultimately pay off this bond, we feel even more comfortable at this point a year later than we did last year. Interest rates are higher than they have been in the past few years, but even 10 years fast forward, if they are lower, we can call it and refund and even get a lower interest rate at that point in time. So with that, happy to answer any questions, but this is an action that we're always going to need to do. Now that we know what our ultimate costs are, we recommend moving forward tonight. And this is the first step in about a 2-month process. You can see right there. It'll come back early June to the council, and then ultimately close in July. So again, happy to answer any questions that you have, and Ms. Cavilving's here as well.
All right, fantastic, thank you. Quick question, as we're ending the end of the legislative session for this year, so
Yeah.
we're a year past of where we thought we would be, a year ago.
Right.
With bonding dollars. And there are some bonding bills that are being considered this year at the state legislature. If we are fortunate if we pass this and then we do get bonding dollars, how does that work?
Yeah, great question. So the bonding request that we have out now is for future projects. We don't feel like we'd have any leverage asking for bonding dollars for a project that we're already doing and almost is done. So the bonding request now is for the future phases of Panaway, as well as Clappridge Park improvements and beach improvements too.
Okay, very good. So it wouldn't be applicable to this.
Would
We
not.
would still just use the TIF funds to pay this back as the monies become.
Exactly, yep.
Okay, understood. Thank you. Other questions?
Just quick question.
Yes.
Jeff, when do the TIF 6 money become available? When is that? Is it 2030 something? When will we actually have funds in there?
Well, there's funds in there now. The term of the district is 26 years. 26 years. This bond would be over 20 years. So we'd pay it back over the course of 20 years. We're starting to get a lot of increment being generated because the values are going up. So this bond will be paid off every year, or the increment coming in will pay off the annual payment every year.
Yes.
I think maybe Councilmember Iverson, what you're referring to is there's still some additional debt that will need to be paid off, like the parking lot, and that's only going to be paid off from this district when there's excess increment, essentially, after all the other obligations are paid off.
So help me understand, because there's so many dates that get thrown around when we do so many things and so many projects. I do recall that there is a TIF district where the funds will not be available until 2030 something.
It depends what you mean not be available for.
That we won't have funds in that account until then. Am I just completely
No, I don't. I think.
misinformed?
No, I don't think so. I think what you might be referring to is excess funds that are generated after all the obligations are paid off. And this district has a lot of obligations, but there's a robust amount of increment being generated that we're paying off all of our obligations over a period of time.
Maybe that's it, because I remember seeing a chart, and it's awesome, the one on page 123, it lays all those 20 years out, so you can see every year what we're paying, so this is really helpful. But I remember in a packet seeing that the dates was 2030 something, but maybe that's, to your point, excess funds, and that we had committed funds prior to that. So maybe that's the number, the year I'm remembering.
And if it's a couple of years ago, I mean, this district is very complicated. It's one of the most complicated in the state, and it's dynamic. So a lot of things have changed even the last 2 years. So I don't doubt what you're highlighting there was incorrect at all, but I'm guessing it is what it's referring to when we'll actually have like uncommitted or unallocated cash.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Complicated.
Yeah.
Councilmember Parkhill.
This might be for Ms. Bang.
Yeah.
So we have a 3% interest rate right now, and it looks like we're going to be going somewhere. I don't know why the coupon changes. Maybe you can explain that, but we're going to up to 4.45. Does it make any sense for us to keep this 3% interest rate another year or two in hopes that rates come down and the Federal Reserve does, drop rates?
That's definitely a Stacy question.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. When we look at it, again, they were temporary bonds that were issued for a 3-year period. That's why that rate's low, and it's actually a little bit high for temporary that we typically see. But the advantage of doing it now is you have $300,000 that you're saving by bringing that to buy down the bonds that's sitting in capitalized interest in an account. So when we look at where the rates.
Slow down now, okay.
So we have $300,000 sitting in an account with the city. We capitalized the interest so that you didn't have to make any payments during that 3-year term of the bonds. And they are callable anytime after 6 months. We set it up that way so that if you got state bonding, we could take those bonds out quickly, or if we saw something happening in the market, or if you wanted to go into a longer term opportunity. So when we look, it's like, why take that $300,000 and pay interest over the next 2 to 3 years with the hopes of maybe rates coming down, but who knows, right? So we look at it now, and when we planned for this initially, the interest rates where we think that they're going to come in, where we were even projecting, a year ago, is probably about where they're going to come in. So we're anticipating somewhere probably true interest cost all in around 3.5%. So it's a little higher in your numbers because we always put 50 basis points wiggle room in there just to see fluctuations in the market, but you should come out better than that.
So you were saying that the new bonds will be in the 3.5 range?
Mayor, council member, if I had my crystal ball, that's where I'm guessing you may be coming in at closer to, so.
So
But don't hold me to that because we'll see what the market does in
why are
June,
these
but,
coupon rates go up to 4.45% if we're going to be locked in at theoretically 3.5%?
Well, you gotta remember the true interest cost is all inclusive of your costs, right? So it's all your costs that you have in for the financing, right? And interest that you're paying over the term of the bond. So it's always lower than what you're seeing from your coupons in the early years that are lower to your coupons that are higher in the later years. So when you take that all into consideration, that's where the true interest cost comes in at.
Can you repeat that again?
Yeah.
My wife was public finance, I was not.
So if you look at the range of rates, right, as you go down the schedule, they start in the low 3 or at 3, and they go up to the 4.5 that you see there. But our true interest cost, I think, on your run is out 4% that you see there. And so we have 50 basis points of additional wiggle room, so to speak, in those bond rates. So if, in fact, things hold out probably more true as where we see the market today, that overall interest will be at 3.5% rather than at the 4% that's showing in there, in your bond runs.
If I, Madam Mayor, Councilmember Parkhill, I think Ms. Cavilving, what Councilmember Parkhill is asking, the rate fluctuates throughout the term, and I think maybe it's based on the actual bond payment, but I may be wrong there.
Yeah, as I said, it starts out in the low threes, and we
Right.
show it at the high end, the 4. But you take that all, it's the time value of money and all your cost of issuance that you have to get to what's called the true interest cost. And that is the number that we're showing actually in your runs, probably a little over 4%. But again, with that 50 basis points cushion in there, probably 3.5.
Won't we know all the costs going in, like all your fees and
Yep.
all of the, you know, the bond salesman fees and all that? We'll know that going in, so I don't understand how we push expenses later into the bond's life.
Mayor, council member, we're not. Everything is all in. It's all included there right now. So our estimate of the market for what you're going to pay all in for a true interest cost is a little over 4%, okay? We have 50 basis points built into that because who knows what's going to happen in the market? Maybe it comes in 50 basis points lower. Maybe it comes in 50 basis points as is at the 4%. So we'll know all that. What we don't know is what's going to be available in the market on that day, who's going to bid, and where interest rates are going to come in.
Okay, so when on that day, you're gonna change all these coupon rates to whatever rate that is that
Correct.
day? So the 4.45 in year 2045 is gonna be whatever
Yep. Whatever the
2
market
months.
says, right. Mhm.
Okay. I don't understand why it's portrayed this way, but I don't know that I need to, so.
Well, can we go back to the dates that are before us for the next 2 months? So if I understand correctly, Stacy, what we have before us, that schedule, is a projection.
Right.
We just don't know the final, not cost, but we don't know the final interest rate we will be offered based on the buyer
Correct.
of our bond.
Correct.
Okay. And that will happen on what date?
That will happen on June 4th.
On June 4th. And then this schedule will be updated to reflect that final, it's kind of like, so I look at it this way, tell me if I'm wrong, because I will oversimplify this to no end. You get a credit card offer, and it says it's going to be somewhere between 11% and 17%, interest that you're going to pay on your credit card. You're not going to know until you actually get that, hey, you're approved, and you're approved at this percentage rate. I know I oversimplified that, and I didn't go to public finance either, which was evidenced by my example. But that's how I kind of see this, right?
Correct.
And so you've built in worst case scenario based on your experience of what you think it is today.
Correct.
But our crystal ball says we're going to do a little bit better, and then we will update these numbers.
Correct. To be actual.
Okay. Does that help?
Yeah, I get that. I still don't understand why these are different, but,
Okay.
okay.
All right. Any other questions? There's one from Councilmember McDonald, but her microphone's giving her a tough time.
I have a hard time with this new microphone button, but I think mine's going to be a little easier, so that might be nice. The TIF district is overperforming, I gathered from your presentation. Is that what you were telling us with this like excess of 5.5 million? Can you just say more about that first point?
Sure, yeah, I'm
All you
happy
said
to.
in your-
I wouldn't say overperforming, I would say it's our
Both fees.
estimates of the increment that it would generate were conservative, and it's overperforming the estimate. So we're bringing in more increment to pay off the obligations earlier than we anticipated.
That was going to be my question. If they are overperform or do better than we conservatively estimated, then we can pay this down faster?
I I don't know if we'd want to do that. There's probably some trade-offs there. We wanted to extend the period because then we can actually
Keep collecting.
keep
Use-
collecting, yeah.
Use it, okay.
To that end, in the past, we have also restructured, I don't know if that's the right term, reissued, restructured our bonds for lower rates.
Refunded, yeah.
Refunded?
Yep.
Is that what the technical term? Okay. Will we have the ability to do that if rates go down significantly where there would be a substantial cost savings
In 10 years, yep.
in 10 years, but not before that?
Not before.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
No, I don't have any further questions.
Okay.
That was really clear, thank you.
No, it's complicated stuff, so it's good to have experts who understand it really well. Any other questions? We have the time frame before us. And right now, we have an ask or a recommendation that we adopt this resolution. So would someone care to make a motion to adopt Resolution 15-2024, authorizing the issuance and sale of general obligation tax increment refunding bonds, Series 2024A?
So moved, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Is there a second?
You're not going to do it? Second.
All right, motion has been first and seconded. Further discussion?
I'd just like to make a statement, and it hasn't veered from how I have felt about the bonding and for this. I will not be voting in favor for it. I am not comfortable the fact that our city has taken such a large amount of bonds out. The belief to the community, in my opinion, from the beginning, is that this would be funded by private dollars. Won't get into any of that, but I'm not comfortable supporting this, but.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, what I am comfortable with is the creation of this TIF district and using the increment, right, to pay these bonds. So without levy increases or anything else. And with the TIF district performing as it is. So I do feel very comfortable with it and feel that it is, at this juncture for where we are, a really good option for us to be able to move ahead. So we have a first and a second, and now I will call the vote. Why don't we do a roll call vote for this one?
Councilmember McDonald,
Aye.
Councilmember Iverson,
Nay?
Councilmember Parkhill,
Aye.
Mayor Mouton.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. And that concludes new business. We are going to move on to, thank you so much, Stacy. Always good to have her counsel on these items. We will move on to city manager's report, and I'd just like to also take a couple of minutes before we conclude this evening's meeting to just say a few words as well. So, city manager.
Couple quick things, Madam Mayor, thank you. Just for folks out there watching, May 18th, which is a week and a half from now, we're going to be celebrating Arbor Month out on the Panaway Plaza. Two components of it. First, at 9 a.m., we're going to have our annual Dig It Day, 9 a.m. to 11-ish, depending on how quick we can plant some flowers. Go to our website to sign up. You can always come, on the day of, but we like to have an idea of how much donuts and water and all that stuff to bring, coffee to bring. And then at 11 a.m., special this year, we're going to have a presentation and a potted plant giveaway. It's going to be led by our Parks Department and Bennett Myron, our city forester, but also there'll be some instruction presentation from Manuel Jordan, a longtime kind kind of city arborist too. So looking forward to that. Hopefully we got good weather, and please come out and either volunteer, get a tree, or both. Two other quick things. The Muni, the Bar and Grill, has started officially Sunday brunch. We've been doing it for the last couple months, but we're really going strong at it now and promoting it on Sundays from 9 to 2 p.m. There's prime rib hash, bunch of omelets, biscuits and gravy, really good classic breakfast items. So it's really good. I invite, the community to come and check it out, and hopefully we'll see it grow and expand further into the future. Lastly,
How's attendance been on that?
it just started, so I should have better numbers or better update next month.
So to that end, is it brunch in lieu of our regular menu or in addition to?
A great question. I was just looking at the menu earlier. It's brunch, and then we have a limited menu in addition. So,
Okay.
if the kids don't like eggs, we'll get you some other chicken-related food like chicken fingers and things like that.
Chicken and waffles.
Chicken and waffles. There you go. Yep. We got the salads and sandwiches too that are available.
Great.
Lastly, just a quick update on the lake walk and the docks out on Panaway. Lot to be done over the next 3-ish weeks, but the goal is still to have everything at least in a substantial completion phase by Memorial Day, where it'll be able to be used by the public. So the wooden railing tops need to go in. The last railings need to be secured. The wires need to go, through the railings, and then the decking needs to be complete. They're making a lot of progress. They're going to be working long days, but the finish line is in their sights, and they got me the contractor, KA, everybody's got me harping on them that we got to meet our goal. So it'll be a interesting next few weeks, but they're pretty bullish that they'll get it all done in time for the public to be able to utilize it by Memorial Day. We also will be putting out some additional safety, making safety precautions along the railroad tracks and installing informational signage as well. So a lot to do, but I'm going to try not to get in their way so they can get their jobs done. But you'll see it in front of your eyes over the next few weeks. The decking is really looking nice, and you can see the progress every day. That's all I have.
All right. Well, the weather has certainly been in our favor. And this is stuff that can be done in the rain. So those April showers didn't slow us down too much.
Correct, right.
Good. Okay. Well, thank you for that. Hope to see a lot of people out for Dig-A-Day. And I would just like to take a few minutes right now to address the community and read a short statement. So as some of you may know, sadly on Sunday, we were informed of the sudden passing of a cherished member of our community, Peggy Douglas. Peggy was simply the best. Aside from being a friendly, warm, funny, and caring person, she was an exceptional leader who served our Planning Commission for the past 6 years, various other boards, and as a dedicated Wayzata Rotarian. Most notably, Peggy played a pivotal role in shaping the Wayzata Area Chamber of Commerce, serving as president and executive director for over 10 years, first in '92 and again from 2006 until her retirement in 2012. Becky Pearson from the Chamber noted these words she shared at her retirement party: "Change is good and fun is mandatory." So with that, one of the things that I can say about that is Peggy had an infectious smile. She was committed to this community and making it the very best that it could be. And she did more than, speak those words. She acted on those words and committed herself and her time to ensuring that Wayzata is the beautiful place that it is. Peggy, while your legacy will live on, we will miss you dearly. And our hearts go out to her family and her friends and her loved ones. And then, I just want to remind everyone also, this is going to be a very busy time of year. We're going to have a lot of new activity in town. Children will be getting out of school shortly. So I would ask everybody, please put your phones away, not just down, but away. Take your foot off the gas pedal. And please remain vigilant, slow down, remain cautious. We want this to be a fun, safe, and happy season for everyone. So take some time, maybe walk. Maybe walk the new Panaway and look for pedestrians, look for bicyclists. There's going to be just a lot going on. So safety is tantamount to an enjoyable season for all. So there's my PSA for the evening. All right. Anything else from the council? No? All right. Well, then, who would like to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Parkhill, in a second.
Second?
It's been first and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion passes, and we are adjourned.